Hi guys, so we are going to use some color pencils in this video today. So if you have different colors, go ahead and pause the video and grab some color pencils or highlighters, and it'll just help us. So let's go over some vocab. So when I have an expression, I have things called terms. So I see here that I have 3 separate terms. All right. Now within those terms, I have things called coefficients, powers, variables, and constants. So a coefficient, I'm going to color this in, is the number before the variable. Alright, so I have a coefficient of 5, and I see another coefficient of 3. Alright, and that 3 is positive, and that sign goes with it. So those are my coefficients. Alright, what are my variables? My variables are the letters. So here I have an X, and I also have another X here. Those are variables, and it is the same variable. What's different about them is the power. So the power that I have is that exponent, all right? And I can see in my second term that there is no exponent. And the last word we learned was constant, and that is the number that is by itself. Okay, so let's just write a quick recap of those words. All right, coefficient is the number before variable. Variable is our letter or unknown number, and constant is the number without a variable. And the other word we had was power, which is our exponent. Okay. So now we're going to talk about like terms. Now, each one of these was its individual term, but are they alike? So what is a like term? A like term has the same variable and the same exponent. Alright, so there are 2 key words there. It is the same variable and the same exponent. It needs to have both of those. If it just has the same variable, then they are not like terms. Alright, so what we are going to do is we are going to identify like terms and sort them into groups, or I call them like term families. And then we're going to combine using operations with integers. So that's just our adding, subtracting, multiply, and divide. Alright, so let's take a look at group 1. So I see my first variable. That is just an X. So I'm going to make that my first group, and I'm going to call that my X group. So I want to identify all things that just have an X. So I see another one, another one, another one. Alright, so in my X group, I'm going to write these all out. So I have 5x minus 2x plus 6x minus x. What number goes there? I got to put a 1. 3x plus 15x. That is all my X group. Alright, so now I'm going to get a different color, and I'm going to use a different shape. And now what's next is I have my number group. Okay, so I'm going to put a square around all the numbers that I see. Now these are constants because they have no variable. So that would be 40, -9, +1, -8, and +7. Now I automatically take the sign that is directly in front of it. So that's where I got those signs from. Alright, so that's our first thing. I'm not going to do step 2 just yet. But what I want you to do for number 2 is you're going to do step 1. I want you to identify like term groups. Okay, so you should have identified, and I see first we have a number. So my first group is going to be my numbers. So let me identify all of those. So I have 1 minus 5 plus 20 minus 3 minus 24 minus 3 plus 1. Okay, and now my next group I see has a y in it. Alright, so I'm going to get all of my terms with a y. And I see some 1's missing, so I'm going to go ahead and put the 1's there. So I have -14y minus 1y minus 2y plus 1y. Alright, so that's how I sort them into groups. Now let's move on to step 2. Once I sort them into groups, I can now simplify them. So I just simplify them by adding up all of the numbers or subtracting, just like we would with our integers. So I'm going to go ahead and plug that into a calculator just to save some time. Okay, and when I get that, I get 26. Now, since this was my x group, I need to have an x in my final term. So I have 26x. Okay, so now I'm going to do the same thing for my numbers. I'm going to simplify them. And I get 31. And that was just a number, so it has no x with it. And it is a positive. So to write my simplified answer, I take both of these things and I just put them together and I get 26x plus 31. Now, they are not like terms, so they do not go together. It stays like that. All right, let's do one more. So first I had my numbers, so I'm going to add those up. Or simplify, I should say. And I get -13. And that was my number, so it has no variable. And now I'm going to do the same for my variable. And I get -16, except this was my y group, so I need a y in my answer. So I have -13, -16y. Those are my two groups. And I put them together to write my final answer. Alright, as always, if you have any questions, write them at the end of the video.